Welcome to the Vault Excel and thank you for your time. Sorry I haven't been on the past couple of days. It's been very busy. New position the Queen is training for, so it's taking up a lot of my time to bring you breaking news and commentary. We're going to discuss the disappearance of Rudy Farias. Authorities say that the disappearance of this man, he's a man now, was a hoax. And what you have to decide, if you even care, what is the truth? Is he telling the truth? Is his mom telling the truth? You will hear different commentary during this live stream from relatives and Mr. Quanell X pertaining to the disappearance of this young man who was deemed a teenager at that time. But Texas laws say at the age of 17, you are considered an adult. So basically, in this state, an adult went missing allegedly many moons ago and now has been discovered. There's a lot of information coming out about this young man, and I'm going to ask all the pertinent questions pertaining to the beginning of this story up until now. So you will hear various commentary from neighbors, associates, friends, family, and these are their personal opinions pertaining to what they know of. Know that this is just a version because I do not know what's the truth. And the story is wicked because when you bring forward allegations of child molestation and inappropriate behavior with the child, you want to make sure that what you're bringing is the truth. So I don't know what is the truth. I'm just listening at this point. I do know this is a very bizarre story, and it's obvious that there are many secrets that people have and hide in this country and abroad pertaining to their children and others. You don't know people, and that's the point. After this, after I play the audio of all the said commentary, which is via the YouTube queue and my community page, I will read you an article of the latest update pertaining to Mr. Farias, and then I will give you my commentary on the said information. I thank you for your time. Hope you all had a safe holiday. If you celebrated Independence Day, have a safe weekend. Be aware of your surroundings. Tomorrow, I will bring you a SmackDown Saturday pertaining to all breaking news and updates from Mr. Trump, O.J. Simpson, Madonna. I'm going to bring you an update just pertaining to everybody, the latest stories that I have found, and I thank you for your time. Please go to my community board to take the poll. I have a poll I just put up pertaining to this story. Who's telling the truth? Rudy, the mom, both. Lying, basically. Which one could be lying? I don't know. We'll talk about all that. Deep Water is my movie suggestion. I believe I put it up for the week. If not for the week, it's for the weekend. I'll go back in and double check. Thank you for your time. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $Beganji, 129 Cash App, Super Chats and stickers are welcome during the live stream. Thank you for your time. ABC 7 Chicago is the first source. We're going to go back 5 days when this story first started.
We do begin on this Sunday with breaking news. An incredible story about a missing teenager found alive 8 years after he disappeared. ABC 13's Brooke Taylor has been gathering information about his return. She joins us live. Brooke, these stories don't always have happy endings, but this one appears to have a resolution.
Exactly, Tom. That's why you could just imagine this family's relief after a long 8 years. So Rudy Farias was 17 years old when he was first reported missing. Now that would make him 25 years old. So back in March of 2015, officials said that Rudy Farias was walking his 2 dogs right near Tidwell and Park Drive. His family reported him missing after his dogs were found, but Farias never returned. His family told officials at the time he was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Texas EquiSearch started asking the public for help trying to find him, saying that he was possibly disoriented and he had not been taking his medication. His mom spoke to us in 2017. She stayed anonymous because she was afraid that she believed her son's disappearance was suspicious.
Someone out there knows something. Anything.
I just want the closure. And not knowing it's torture. And the Texas Center for Missing People tweeted out earlier that he was now in the hospital. We have calls out to officials. There are still a lot of questions right now, like where he was found and where he has been, of course, these last 8 years. We are going to try and get those answers. Live in Houston, I'm Brooke Taylor, ABC 13, Eyewitness News.
ABC 7 is the source. Let's chop up what was said. Okay. You hear the commentator, or the reporter saying, most times when people are found, it is a happy ending. But instead he said, hopefully we'll find a resolution. Always listen to the wording in a news clip. Happy ending, resolution. Which is it? Is this a happy ending, or is this a resolution to what exactly? Because we don't even really know what's going on. Family members say he was depressed at the time of his disappearance, which was 8 years ago, had anxiety, had not been taking his meds. I believe the word was used, disconnected. The mom spoke. They didn't show her face in this commentary. She was suspicious of his disappearance, wanted closure, and it was torture for her having her son missing. We now have information, this was from 5 days ago, that he is in a hospital. So, is he still in a hospital? I'm going to bring you up to date per the information. But this is a very wicked story, because police in the commentary I'm going to bring you, which was uploaded a day ago, I'm going to bring you an article at the end of this, after I play all the audio, that they believe this is a hoax from their investigation. Some are blaming the police, Houston police, and the FBI for dropping the ball, not following through. Is this a case of laziness? They didn't really think that the boy was missing from their own information and statuses from many years ago. That's why nobody stayed on the case. Where was he? Where was he found? How did he get there? Where was he before that? Wherever he was found? It's a lot of questions. Will we get the answers? Thank you for joining me. Mercy. A lot of negativity coming out about the bio mother. Allegations from her. Police also dismissing some of those allegations of improprieties of a child versus what he told Mr. Quanell X. What is the truth? Mr. Quanell is going to tell you later in this commentary, well, detective, you were there. I'm not making this up. I'm not lying on the kid. You heard what the kid said. So why are you acting like you didn't hear what he said? Use deduction, rather. Let's go there. Lord have mercy, help me, Jesus. I don't know where this story is going. Because what would be bad is if we find out everybody is making up stuff. I don't know. I'm not here to say, because this is something off about the story. Like way, way off. A lot of commentary. Fox 26 Houston. Quanell X shares details on mysterious disappearance of Rudy Farias. Thank you for joining me. One moment, everybody.
So you've been here for his mother?
Hold on. I don't know why. My audio is awfully low. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to navigate something. Just a second, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I don't know what's going on. All these articles all this commentary seems awfully low for some weird reason. One moment.
For this meeting with the detectives, Rudy's mother and Rudy. And so I dropped everything I was doing and made it as fast as I possibly could. And I spent about an hour and 20 minutes one-on-one with Rudy and with one of the detectives. I heard horrific things from that young man. And I did not want him to see me start shedding tears, but I couldn't hold back the tears because of the things he was saying to us, the detective and myself. No child should ever be treated like that by your own mother.
Are female trees. Their secret superpower, they absorb.
Sorry, commercial. What a mess. Whew, Lord help me.
That he had to hide, that he was going to get in trouble, and they were going to arrest him for running away, and that he had to continue hiding. And so she hid him out for a while, then brought him back to the house and hid him in the home. And initially, whenever the investigators would come, she would hide him in the house. And he kept saying, I don't want her to go to prison. I don't want her to get in trouble. I don't want her to go to jail. And so we asked him, why did you run away? And he said he just got tired of her not respecting his boundaries. And she said that he wanted his own life. And his exact word was, I was tired of living like a slave. She would take him to work with her, and he would do the required work she was supposed to do. And a lot of the responsibilities of her job was on him. And he went on to say that what troubled him the most was her crossing his personal space boundaries. He said that she would make him sleep in the bed with her. And he said that she made him play daddy. He said that he didn't like getting in the bed with her, that he would try to sneak out of the bed and sometimes hide under the bed, but she told him he had to be her husband. That's a damn shame, man. A little boy said she was the one providing drugs to him for years. Hallucination drugs, mushrooms, etc. And that the reason why he was left, he was just tired of her crossing his boundaries. When he would shower, she would come and pull the shower curtain back and stare at him, and then she would make him bathe her with the soap. And he ran away this time because he was tired.
Well, now, we've been doing this for many years. How emotional has today been with this case?
It's a goddamn shame. I ain't never in my life heard of a mother doing to a child what this woman did.
Were you at all there when the mother was questioned?
Yes.
And what was her reaction?
Yes. And I knew something was wrong with the story. When she was questioned, when they found him, he had her credit card in his pocket. She just canceled that credit card 2.5 years ago. So if he's been missing for 8 years, how the hell he get your credit card in his pocket when they found him from 2.5 years ago? And he said to us that she gave him that credit card so he could go and buy her certain things.
But with the other allegations, what was her response to those allegations?
She hadn't even heard them because we had to remove her from the room.
But so she had any question about that?
Can you describe her demeanor and his demeanor during questioning?
When she was in the room, he wouldn't say nothing. He wouldn't say one word when she was in the room. But the minute she left the room and we were allowed to talk to a young man, and he asked, he said, "Can I speak with Mr. X by myself? Can I talk to one else by myself?" And the detective was like, "Well, can one of us stay in the room?" And he was like, "Okay, but I'll talk to him." So when she left, when he first came here, he was holding on to her. He wouldn't talk to her. He wouldn't say one word to anybody. Like he was petrified. But the minute he got alone by himself, he slowly calmed down. And he slowly began to talk very coherently and specific details.
This is a man in his mid-20s. People might wonder, why not run away from this situation? Why not get yourself out of it? Did he give you any explanation about that?
I honestly believe, based on what he said to us, she was drugging the hell out this kid. And she convinced him that he was in trouble for initially running away and that law enforcement wanted to arrest him and put him in jail for running away. She had convinced him that all type of agencies were looking for him to put him in jail.
He was in plain sight, according to you, in that he would take her to work.
No, he would go to work with her.
Right. He would
stay at the job
she
with
would
her.
take him to work. Where did she work and where was he doing this work?
It was some kind of security job or something like that. Where they were at, I don't know, but it was a security type job, a nighttime security watch type job.
How did he end up in the church?
We still can't. He admitted that he had took mushrooms, okay? And 2 weeks before this, or a week of, maybe not even official, whole 2 weeks, her car was stolen, okay? When her car was stolen, she didn't know how the car was stolen, but the keys were in the car. And he stole the car. That's when he got to the accident in the car. And it was him that got into the accident in that car.
What was the story? I mean, this is 8 years he was reported missing. What's the story that he's been? I spoke to neighbors who said he went by adult, but he never kind of told anyone what happened. What was his story?
Because she had convinced him that he was in so much trouble for initially running away. And she gave this boy serious drugs to the point to where this boy needs extensive professional help.
How did he stay missing for so long? I mean, 8 years.
He was allowed to visit with some of the neighbors under an assumed name. She believed that after so many years, people had forgotten about the case, and that under an assumed name, and convinced him to use that name, nobody would put two and two together.
But he never told any of the people that he was with what was happening?
Never told anybody what was going on. And let me say this. That young man's body have scars all over it.
Hard Mountain Dew is finally here.
Sorry about that. Very strange story. Very strange. Let's get back to it.
From here, from Litchell's forearm to his wrist. All type of scars on this kid. And he said that she often locked him in the room. That she would give him drugs and lock him in the room. And there's a whole lot of mental health issues there, I believe, induced because of the drugs that this young man was getting.
Well, at any point during this process today, did you see the mother detained by HPD?
They took her to another room and kept her there for a minute after he had confided with us what was said. I know they were on the phone with the DA's office and their superiors about this case, but I want everybody to know something. This young boy was not kidnapped by some strangers and he got away and they found him. That's not the case here.
You know, this happened on Thursday, and we're nearly a week later, and investigators waited almost a week to speak to him. Hearing the story that you heard, is it a concern that they waited this long to hear from him, given the story that you were told? It seems like he's had 8 years of dealing with this, and now another week.
I was shocked that they have not done more. I was shocked that they had not executed a search warrant on the home. I was shocked by that. And I said, don't you all think you need to get busy and execute a search warrant on that home? And the young man made it crystal clear to us that that's where he was, in the house. But he was living under his fake assumed name.
You think police failed in this situation?
Oh, big time. No doubt about it. Absolutely they did. Because there were several instances where calls were made about him to law enforcement, and they did not properly follow up and follow through based on the history of that address, because she hadn't changed addresses.
Oh, she hadn't changed.
This morning that she brought back, she was trying to leave. Did we know something about
She was trying to do what?
Trying to leave the house. She was trying to leave the house.
She did leave the house.
So she was trying to escape.
She did leave the house, and she was trying to get away from the house. Yes.
Why was she at this hotel?
She said she felt that she was not safe going home because she had been receiving threats.
What now? Is the police investigation over? Where are they?
I can't say at what state their investigation is. But what I can say, it ain't no way in hell that woman shouldn't be locked up immediately. And that boy needs to go to the best drug rehab and best psychological mental health facility that we can find for him. He's a good kid. He's a good kid. That kid was just severely abused.
And what was the mother's reaction when you brought these stories to her?
I couldn't go back in the presence at that point. The police felt it was just best that she and I not speak again. Because I was bitter.
Is she aware of these that the son told you?
Yeah, she's aware. And then she goes back in there and tries to tell him, and she don't even know that was recorded.
Oh, Lord.
Tell him that you made it all up. That was just a lie.
You said she would ask him to play daddy. Can you just she was sexually abused?
She would ask him to play daddy. She told him that he had to be the husband. She would force him to sleep in the bed with her. And he was forced to sleep at times in the beds with no clothes on.
Was anything
And
physically done?
yes, but I don't want to. You talk about the kissing and all of that stuff.
But he was telling you that there was some sort of sexual action that was happening between him and
Ask your question. If your mother tongue kissing you in the bed with her naked, what the hell is that?
Oh, wow.
Damn,
Excuse me laughing.
You have to go that far? That's what happened. This is sick.
Ooh, mercy.
This ain't normal. This is sick.
Cornell, if these allegations are true, I understand the position here. If they are true, how long before you think there's an arrest?
Based on what that young man said to me in front of the detective, I don't see why she's not in handcuffs right now. I don't see why she's not in handcuffs right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, mercy. Too much going on there. Lord have mercy. Jesus, help me understand what is going on. Just a second. I want to recap everything that was said. Oh, Lordy. This is bad business. Fox 26 Houston is the source, everybody. Let's go over that. Woo! We're now talking about a grown man. Okay? A grown man. He was hidden in this house with this mother, allegedly. How long? From this information, Mr. X says, oh, wow. She never changed addresses. He wouldn't say anything, tell anybody about these allegations for the fear of his mom going to jail. But yet he's founded a church. She was violating his personal boundaries, wanted his own life. She took him to work with her at a security job where she worked in the evenings. So nobody complained at the job about this young man, at this job with her. So who did she say he was? And somebody at the job was curious. Did somebody ever look at the cameras and say, who's this guy with you every time you come to work? Because somebody's got to be looking at cameras and say, hey, who's this guy with you? What did she tell these people? Or was there ever a question? How long did she take him to the job? So you have to ask all those questions. If we're talking about an 8-year span, how long has she had the security job? How long was she taking the son to her job? Did anybody ever complain? He slept in his mother's bed. She told the son she wanted him to play daddy. Was there actual sexual intercourse between this woman and her son? You hear Mr. Cornell basically getting upset with the reporter. Hey, they're tongue kissing. What do you think? Which, one would assume. The worst. When he didn't want to sleep in the bed with his mom, he would sleep on the floor under the bed, sneak under the bed. This is hard to fathom. An older person who has the fortitude to run, move out, beat a person up. Did he ever try to exact violence against her, hit her, push her, shove her, tell her, hey, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This ain't right. Did he ever tell his mom what she was doing was not right? Who else knew that he was actually staying in that damn house? Because see, a lot of this really is not adding up. Because I always tell people to listen to the information before you get jiggy and start talking about what's the truth and ain't the truth. You got people knowing that the boy was there. You got an issue about a nephew pretending to be him. But where this story is off, listen carefully. Listen very carefully. If Cornell X says she's at the same address for many years, then she couldn't have fooled the neighbors saying, oh, this person is my nephew. Because even if I saw you at 17, how much could you have changed from 17 to 25? Stay woke. See, this is not a story about a 6-year-old and then they go missing and then they pop back up outside at 14, 15. They still would look the same. You still would have some features. Even now, if you go back in your photos as a child, you can still see features of yourself from childhood to adult. Come on now. Very rare do you see pictures of a small person and you compare them to an adult and say, oh, wow, they don't look nothing like their childhood picture and vice versa. This is where I said something is really weird with the story. Because I'm going to play audio of other allegations of people knowing and said the mom was a liar and so on and so forth. But where this makes no sense is bringing somebody else in the picture to say, oh, this is my son, blah, blah, blah. But if she never moved, I have seen you been around your kid, I would know that ain't your son. That's not your son. Because if he left at 17, as I just said, how much different would he look from 17 to 25? Stay woke. You're going to either be chubbier or you're going to be smaller. You're either going to have facial hair or a beard, but you're still going to look something like your former self at 17. 17, yes, that's damn near a man. So that's why I said we're not talking about a child went missing at 6 and popped back up at 17. People might look and be like, oh, okay, I can't tell the difference. Something's very off here. Giving the boy drugs, mushrooms. Once again, tired of his boundaries being crossed. That's why he ran away, found at a church. He took a shower, and when he was living with the mother, she would watch him pull the shower curtain back. She would get in the tub and have her son bathe her. Wicked, if I'm to believe these allegations. Will he or has he told the police the same version that he told Mr. X? Mr. X says he knew something was wrong when the boy had the credit card that was allegedly canceled 2 years ago. So as he said, if the boy was missing, man was missing 8 years ago, how does he have a card that was just recently canceled from 2 years ago? But then that makes no sense. Why would he have a canceled card in his possession? Is it that he doesn't know any better? He doesn't know what? Why would you even keep the card? So you have to ask all those relevant questions. I cancel a card. Why would I keep it? I'm not saying that she ain't the type to hold on to stuff, because many people do. They cancel cards, they cancel things, and they hold on to the paper, the ID, but why keep it? Most people know that when you cancel a card, you cut it up. You cut it up. That's what you do with a canceled card. So did he just see it laying around, saw it in her wallet or something, and thought, let me take this card, I may need this. But then Mr. Cornell says he took it because she would have him go buy things. So see, that doesn't make any sense. So how could I be buying something for you if I've ran away? I tell you, pay attention. Because this don't make no sense. He's found at a church, laying on the ground, has a credit card that's been canceled 2 years ago, but yet the mother says, oh, well, I gave him that card so he can go buy stuff. So is she just making that up because she knows her foot's caught in a trap? I got to come up with something. So I got to make up a reason why he would have my credit card that doesn't work. Lord have mercy. I know. He wouldn't speak to anyone at first, the young man, Rudy, until the separation of him and the mother. The mother stepping out of the room, clinging to her. That's creepy too. I'm running away from you, but I'm clinging to you. So is his mind messed up from drug use, intimidation from the mother? Did she ever beat him? Threaten him? We learned that she has, allegedly, accusing him. Hey, police are looking for you. They want you. So what's she using mind control over her son? And will we find out that she is actually his biological mother? Because God knows, I don't need any more surprises in this story. He's in his mid-20s, allegedly 25. Reporter asks, why didn't he run away? And he says because he was under the influence of drugs. And the mother threatened him or told him that the police were looking for him to arrest him for running away. What's the deal with the church? How long was he outside that church, hanging around there? What's the proximity of the church to his address? Car stole 2 weeks beforehand, before the church incident. Keys in the car. He took the car, had an accident in the car. Something strange about that as well. Told the neighbors he was somebody else. They used assumed names, which makes no sense, because if you're telling me she never moved, then how are these people not realizing at some time, seeing a glimpse of Rudy, they're not saying, that's the same Rudy. That ain't no nephew, cousin, whomever. Something's off. Something's way off. Scars on his body, says Mr. X. Mr. X believes he needs mental help due to the use of drugs. Shocked. More hasn't been done. A search of the house. No execution of a search warrant, Mr. X says during this interview. He said he stayed at that house the entire time. Same address. Calls were made to this house. So when was the last phone call made to the house? And what was the call about? Was it pertaining to the stolen car? Was it people calling to say, hey, she's lying, her son isn't missing, he's been there all the time, he's in her vicinity? If indeed somebody made a call recently or whatever, what happened? Did the FBI police go out to look in the house? Because you got to ask yourself, if there was a call recently, this year, last year, did the police go in? Where did they search? If indeed he was in the house, where was he hidden? What kind of house is it? Does it have a cellar, an attic, crawl space? What are we saying here? Well, Melinda, there are children who are held against their will. We have a case from Texas last year. The children were older. The boy was older and stayed in the house with a dead corpse. He finally got tired of being in that house with a dead kid, and he was old enough to leave. He was old enough to leave the year before. But when you have mind control from a parent, they're threatening you, starving you, you're begging for food. That's the thing about the human mind. Let's be truthful. We all have done some stupid stuff and we knew better. Such as being mistreated by people, and we still kept dealing with them, kept talking to them, kept doing favors for them, stopped bringing them around, still having sexual relations with them. And we're way older than 17, 14, 13. Come on now. Because it is easy to judge. Oh, he's a big kid. Da-da-da. Hey. But we're seeing more stories of people having mind control over people who have the fortitude to walk out the door, but they do not. You'll have to ask him why he stayed. She left this house for fear of her safety, being threatened. Who's been threatening her? By the phone, social media? Who? How's she going to afford to stay in a hotel? It's very expensive to stay in a hotel. After learning of the allegations from Rudy, Mr. X has not spoken to the mother, and police advised him not to say anything to her. Naturally, he probably would have went off. It would have been a bad scene. But the mom was recorded, he says, Mr. X, of her telling the son, tell him you made this story up. Everything you're saying to them, because she now knows of the allegations by Rudy, mentioned to the police. Tell them you made it up. Yeah, that is something you would say if you know it's true, and you don't want to go down the rabbit hole for lying to authorities, holding this child hostage, asking for funds. Is this really an issue of a mother wanting money? Because you're going to hear allegations from a relative that this is about GoFundMe and getting money. She's known as a pathological liar. Is this woman a scamster, schemer, defrauder? He had to play daddy to her. That's what she told the son allegedly. and what he said to Mr. X. You have to be the husband now. Getting in a bed naked with his mother, she kissing him, tongue kissing, and one could use deduction that more went on inside the bedroom of the mother. He feels like she should have been handcuffed, taken away days ago. This is currently an ongoing investigation. You will hear that in my article at the end of this information after I play all of the audio. This is a wicked story because I always listen to everything that's being said. And everything being said by Mr. Cornell is very weird to me. Things being told to him by the son, because what's not adding up is that they've lived in the same house. If we're to believe they've been living in the same house, how is it that you're tricking people with two eyes? That ain't your son, number one. If he's going and coming out of the house at some point, somebody should know that wasn't her nephew. Okay, let me rephrase that. She's telling people this is my nephew, blah, blah, blah. But if you lived in the same house, I would say to myself, nah, that ain't her nephew, that's her son. Why is she lying? If she lived in the same house, how is she using different names? Who would she be using different names to? That doesn't make sense. It only makes sense to use different names if she was moving around and living in different houses. So I thought I had heard she lived in different houses, because you can't say she's been living in the same house and using aliases. Alias to whom? How can you be using aliases and you live in the same house? Unless you're using aliases on documentation for money's welfare, HUD, or credit card. You understand what I'm saying? Stealing somebody's identity. So what circumstance, plural, was she using fake names for she and the boy? See, this is where this makes no damn sense. If he's been in that house the whole time, he's been coming and going out of there, going out at night. You want me to believe if you live in the same house, nobody's noticing a 17-year-old is now a little chunkier or a little smaller. Hey, that's the same kid. Why is she lying to us, trying to tell us that's her nephew? Y'all better wake up. Because Queen knows better. Please go to my community board and take the poll, because I'm asking you the pertinent question. Are both telling the truth or are both lying? Who is telling the truth? Who's lying? Because something is not right. And I'm not here to say that this boy is lying on his mother, but something is off with the neighbors and the aliases. And you want me to believe that she's tricked all these people, family members and neighbors, and never moved, that wasn't her son. Come on now. Hell no. I'm sorry. I don't believe that. If you're that easily to be manipulated, something is terribly wrong.
Today, before we get into it though,
sorry about that. It's something. Lord help me, because this don't make no sense. All right, let's bring more information of neighbors and different people with different versions of this crazy nonsense. Let's talk to some people in the hood, the neighborhood, about Mr. Rudy and the mother. Neighbor captures video of Rudy Farias' mom saying they want to arrest me. KPRC 2 click to Houston is the source. Yeah, well, if you've been trying to defraud people and lie, or whatever the hell you've been up to, I guess so. We'll see if they arrest her. But so far, there have been no arrests. Once again, click to Houston is the source. This is some wicked nonsense here.
Saw Rudy Farias just last night after he was found alive again last week. Corley Peel is live right now outside of the mother's home. It's located on Valley Lake Drive, where neighbors say they also spoke with his mother.
That's right, Rudy. Neighbors tell me they saw Rudy and his mother here in their driveway at their home. They say the mother did not stay long, but she did appear to be worried about being arrested. From a distance, neighbors took video of Rudy Farias' mother loading up a car in her driveway Tuesday night.
When he first went missing, he didn't report it to the police, and they were trying to say that he might have done some crimes, which he didn't. And now they want to arrest me because they said I was hiding him.
Her 25-year-old son vanished 8 years ago at age 17.
It's just we always, in our hearts, knew that he wasn't really missing.
During those 8 years, his cousin, Cassandra Lopez, says she called 911 in 2018 after family members saw Farias at his mother's home. She says their grandmother told her she spoke with Rudy often. And how did those conversations go when she would talk about Rudy?
She would just say, I saw Rudy, he came to check on me, and, we just said hello and have their little conversation. She never went into detail, but she would say she saw him.
HPD says officers responded but didn't find him. Neighbors tell me Farias has been living with his mother this entire time, but they know him by the name Dolph. But did you ever notice anything suspicious over there?
No, when he talked to us, he doesn't say too much on who he really is. We just know that he lives down here with his mom. He goes to work with her around 6 p.m. to maybe 7 or 8 in the morning. And he just been freely walking down the streets.
Neighbors shared this text message appearing to show a conversation between Farias' mother and the neighbor where she identifies herself as Dolph's mom. Lopez hopes Farias is safe enough to tell his story.
His half of his life is almost, or a quarter of his life's already been taken away from him. That's just not right. He didn't deserve that. Nobody deserved that.
She says it's only a matter of time before the truth comes out. Neighbors also told us that Rudy's mother asked them not to talk to the news after he was found. But again, they have spoken with us tonight. Again, there are a lot of unanswered questions surrounding this case, but we, of course, will keep you updated as we learn more. Reporting live from Northeast Harris County, Corley Peel, KPRC 2 News.
Corley, thank you for that part of the story.
All right, everybody. That's
exactly what.
That's click to Houston. Don't talk to the neighbors. Don't tell them anything. Why not? Walking freely down the street is Dolph, but not Rudy. You hear this girl talking. She's talking very slow. It's very creepy listening to her, too. How did you know that he was going to work with his mom if you didn't really know him? I'm just asking. How would you know that he's going to work with his mom? Bars on the windows, bars, this gate on the door. Well, think about it. If the front door is gated up, the walkway is gated up, you couldn't get in there anyway. And you can't go in there without a search warrant. Is this a high crime area? Break-ins, robberies, stick-ups, stolen cars? What are we talking about? Why are there bars on the window and this gate up in the front door? Because I've never seen a gate like that put up on the walk. At the door, maybe, but not the walk. Maybe she's been living foul, janky. As I tell you, always listen to the information. This black girl talking, she sounds a bit off her damn self. I said it. She got the time of when he was going to work with his mom. So are you really friends with him or what? To know when somebody's going to work with their mother. So she's never moved from this house. I'm going to say it again. How the hell you realize that's not the nephew? That family member speaking. Oh, yeah, my grandmama said she see him because allegedly the grandmama lived in the house too. See, the story is getting more complicated. You better stay awake now. So you're talking to the grandmother and the grandmother says, yeah, I've seen him. You don't think to go call the police and say, hey, I think this woman's committing fraud by saying her child is missing. I've talked to the grandmother. She says, I see him. Hell yeah, she sees him if she lives in the house. Bingo card. Why the grandmother's not calling 911, FBI? My daughter is living a lie. She's trying to defraud people for whatever reason. Her son is alive. He's right here. He's in this room. He's locked in a room, the cellar, the basement. Y'all better pay attention. Queen stays woke. See, the one thing I do is I listen. I listened to the information from law enforcement. I listened to the alleged version somebody gave somebody. I listened to what the neighbors have to say, and I got enough sense to tell you something ain't right. Because when you start hearing people say, oh, they're a liar, they lie all the time. Yeah, Pookie Ray Ray seen him walking down the street. Yeah, he going by another name, she going by another name. Well, what part of the story that ain't nobody paying attention to, which is, why haven't you called law enforcement? It doesn't damn matter if the law don't show up, FBI don't show up. Somebody would have jumped on the story. Hey, that story of that lady on the news talking about her son missing, that's a lie. It's a ruse. Y'all been hoodwinked and bamboozled. Checkmate. And the mother standing there looking off, looking stupid, saying, he didn't go report himself missing. You're the mother. Why should he report himself missing? That doesn't make any sense. So that's why you got to ask yourself, what do you believe? Do you believe he was drugged? Do you believe he was held hostage? Why didn't he fight back? Why didn't he beat up the mother? Run out, help me. Or was he under the control of his mother, mind control? We know it happens every day. Stockholm syndrome. Scared of her. Demon. Witch. Scared of her. But yet he's walking around free. Now, this is where people are going to be judgmental. Well, he's walking around free. The black girl just said he's walking around, but yet he's under mind control. He's under drugs. You're entitled to your interpretation. I want to know the alias she was using for what and for what and for what. Has she been scheming the government, other people, pretending to be somebody else? Make it make sense. Let's get back to more commentary pertaining to Rudy Farias. I don't know what to call him. I asked you all 55 minutes ago on my channel, is Rudy Farias and mom both lying? Both 38%. Mom, 62%. Rudy, 0%. 50 votes. So most of you believe the mother is lying. 38% of you think both of them are lying. We will see what happens here. It's a very bizarre story, I must say. News Nation, 2 hours ago, Rudy Farias was sheltered, scared of mother. Friend says, this is somebody who's spoken to Cuomo. Let's see what News Nation has to say about this nonsense. Lord have mercy, help us.
Seem developmentally normal to you?
Yes, he did. I mean, he was just very timid, very sheltered.
But it seemed like he could think, he could process, and emotionally he was able to control himself?
At times, yes. Or I say most of the time. Now, when Charles did die in that motorcycle accident, Janie...
1 second. This is Jackie Brunswick, a Caucasian female speaking. She's Rudy Farias' family friend. Jackie Brunswick, if you need verification for the information.
Picked him up from wherever he was and took him to the scene of the accident so he could see his brother. A 14-year-old.
I'm sure that was very, very traumatizing. So then he goes missing. You get concerned because you don't hear from him, and you reach out to authorities. What did you say to them, and what was the response?
Well, I had to talk to one of the investigators, private investigators, and she said, Jackie, you really need to call them and give them, what you know. And I'm like, okay. So I called, and the detectives, I guess, were not there at the time. So a front desk guy took my information, and I kind of told them what it was. He said, okay. He says, well, I will give this as soon as the detectives get back in. I will give this to them, and they will be contacting you. It's been a long time, and they still haven't contacted me.
Okay, let's go back. I want to go back to something on the page to show the timeline of the events. Hold on 1 second, everybody. March 6, 2015, Rudy goes missing. March 7, 2015, mom reports Rudy missing. September 2018, this is now 3 years later, 3+ years later. Relatives call 911 to say Rudy is not missing. Cops investigate but don't find Rudy. Let's count the months. April, May, June, July, August, September. That's 3 years and 6 months. Stay woke. March 7th, the mother reports him missing. March 6th, he goes missing, 2015. So a day later, she reports her son missing. 3.5 years later, in September of 2018, relatives call 911 to say Rudy is not missing. Cops investigate, do not find him. June 29, 2023, too many damn years later, Rudy's found outside a Houston church, allegedly on the ground. July 5th, 2023, Rudy and mother admit he hasn't been missing. And today is the 7th of July, going into the 8th. Once again, June 29th of this year, Rudy Farias found outside a Houston church. And days later, on July 5th, Rudy and the mother admit he hasn't been missing. So Miss Santana, whatever your damn name is, you gonna get some kind of trouble for going to authorities years ago to say your son was missing. You got to stand account for that. Now, what you were up to, I do not know. What type of fraud you had going on, what type of dirty business you had going on with your son, improprieties against a boy child man, because in the state of Texas, he's considered an adult at 17. But your ass is going to get into some kind of trouble, as you should. Let's finish hearing what Jackie has to say. Let's go a little forward into that information.
So I called, and the detectives, I guess, were not there at the time. So a front desk guy took my information, and I kind of told him what it was. He said, okay. He says, well, I will give this as soon as the detectives get back in. I will give this to them, and they will be contacting you. It's been a long time, and they still haven't contacted me.
Wow. That's crazy.
Jackie, I really appreciate you helping us understand this situation. It just stinks 6 ways from Sunday. We're going to stay on it to understand what happened.
Correct. Please do. And please pray for Rudy.
Yeah, and hopefully you're able to help him like you have all along. It sounds like he's definitely going to need it if anything that he's saying is true. Be well and be in touch if we can help. You know how to get us.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com.
Cuomo, everybody, News Nation. What's missing from this story? Nobody's called Miss Jackie back to say anything. He's sheltered. He was scared. 3 years go by. 3+ years. 3 years and 6 months. Somebody goes, ring, ring, ring. Hello. This lady's lying to you. Her son's not missing. So you know what I'm going to say, what I've already said earlier during this commentary. How many people knew that Rudy was never missing? And how long was it before somebody went to authorities when they realized in 2015 on that Rudy was never missing and that he was in that house with his mother? When was the first call, letter, text to law officials that the boy was still with the mother? Because I wonder, has she had that same gate out on that walk to where you couldn't get in? And once, you know, law officials don't have a search warrant, they can't just break in her house to go check. So I think that gate was put up there for a reason as well. Maybe a little bit of fraud, a little bit of this mess with his son, crime, I don't know. But 3 years later, somebody's calling telling you, hey, he's alive. You got this lady saying she's called. Something is off here. I told you all pay attention. So why was it not investigated? Why didn't officials call this lady back to say, well, where'd you see him? When did you see him? Who else you think knows that he's alive? What did he have on? Come on, you guys. Something stinks in Denmark. And what do they say? It ain't the cheese. It's definitely not the cheese. Ooh. Rudy Farias refused to answer his mom's phone calls. Neighbor says 4 hours ago, News Nation.
We the people of the United States. We've moved so far away from.
Sorry about that. Oh, I can't keep up with none of this nonsense that's going on.
Now is Keisha Ross. She's a neighbor of Rudy Farias. And Keisha, you say you never knew he was considered missing. So what was your understanding of the situation before these more recent details came to light?
Well, I had just moved back to Houston because I had been living in Fort Worth. I left in 2000 and I moved back here in 2022. And like 3 months after I moved here, I met the so-called Rudolph, because that's what I know him by. He told me his name was Rudolph, but he told me to call him Dolph.
Well, that makes sense to call him that.
So
Dolph, okay.
That's what I knew him by. So he had been coming to my house since 3 months after I moved here, clean up until May 27th, when he actually so-called went missing from his home with his mother's BMW. He took it and he totaled it, and she told police that she didn't know who took her car, but she knew that he took her car because he was down here at my house earlier in the day with that car, and then he left. After he left, we hadn't talked to him. He turned his phone off, and we had been calling him to, because she had been calling us, asking us, have we heard from him? Have we talked to him? And we were saying no. So like Sunday, the day before the 4th of July, he come walking by my house earlier that morning around 6 or 7. It was like 7 o'clock. I want to say 7:30 or close to 8 o'clock. He had on some white basketball shorts, some flip-flops, no shirt, and he had some Band-Aids on him like he had went to the hospital or gave plasma or something, and a towel wrapped over him. And he walked to his house. And then later on that day, I learned that he was supposed to be missing. And when I looked at the thing, my daughter pulled it up and it said he had been missing since 2015. I wasn't here in 2015, so I knew nothing about that because I watch the news every now and then. I don't watch it like that. So I never knew anything about that. That day, I discovered that he's supposed to be missing since 2015. I say, how was he missing since 2015? And I met him in 2022. It's a bunch of people that's been in my home that knows him, and they're not even living with me anymore, but they can tell you that they know a Mexican guy named Dolph. And if you show them a picture of him, they'll tell you that's who they know, because that's who we know. She's saying we talked to her nephew. The number that we had for her so-called son, it's not his number. That was her nephew number. I told her all she have to do is bring her nephew to my presence and ask her nephew what's inside of my house. Dolph know because he's been inside of my house. And I told her they run around saying that this is her nephew that everybody has seen. Why isn't a lie detector test, or nobody has went into the home and took DNA evidence out of the house? Because the boy had been living there since I've been in my home.
So what was your reaction when you heard Rudy was found slumped over outside of a church last week and then taken to the hospital? What went through your heart and your mind first?
He may have been slumped over due to being on some type of drug, because like I told people, every time I saw him, I never saw him with a sober mind. He was always saying that he needed some mushrooms or shrooms to get high. And he smoked marijuana And he was always high. He was never sober. But when he would come, what was like getting to me was like, you could tell there was something wrong with him because he was like always, it was like if he came down here and she called his phone, he wouldn't answer. So that was a red flag.
Keisha, very quickly, we've got about 10 seconds left. What was your impression of his mother?
I thought she was a weird lady. I didn't talk to her. She would only talk to my son and my cousin because I wouldn't talk to her because I noticed the things about him that when his mom called, I thought she was some weirdo.
Lord have mercy.
But when I met her, she gave me a different impression.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation.
What did I just listen to? Keisha. What in the world is going on? This is strange. This is probably the best information here with Keisha. We'll go back and play her a little later because there's so much I want to play and read to you. I don't know. We've heard from a family member that talked to the grandmother who told her once that she saw him. We now got Keisha. We got the other black girl that saw him walking up and down the street. He went by Dolph, which is short for Rudolph, Rudy. So there you have three names, not really an alias. Rudolph is his government name. So he would go by Rudy. He would go by Dolph. Are these the aliases that people are speaking of? This is some weird mess right here, honey. I don't know what to say. The aunt says everything coming out to the light after his 8-year disappearance. Click to Houston is the source. Thank you for joining me, everybody.
Tonight at 10 o'clock with the story getting national attention. A young man reported missing 8 years ago, finally found days ago. But where was Rudy Farias all these years? Thank you for joining us at 10. I'm Keith Garvin.
And I'm Lisa Hernandez. Daniela is off tonight. Back on March 6, 2015, the then 17-year-old's family reported him missing. Fast forward 8 years to last Thursday when the now 25-year-old was finally found outside a church in East Houston. But in a twist, Farias may not have been missing at all.
I knew something was wrong with the story. When she was questioned, when they found him, he had her credit card in his pocket. She just cashed that credit card 2.5 years ago. So if he's been missing for 8 years, how the hell he get your credit card in his pocket? When they found him, she would take him to work with her, and he would do the required work she was supposed to do. And a lot of the responsibility of her job was on him. No child should ever be treated like that by your own mother. This young man said that when he initially ran away, he came back 2 days later, and she told him that he had to hide, that he was going to get in trouble.
KBRC2's Bryce Newberry live in Northeast Houston in the neighborhood where questions continue to mount tonight. Bryce.
Lisa and Keith, tonight we are not detailing these disturbing allegations until we can verify them. But after hearing some of the claims that came out earlier today, the neighbors and family members we spoke with tonight tell us they are disturbed, disgusted, and tonight they are also worried about the man who everyone here in this neighborhood knew as Dolph. Wrapped in a blanket and not showing his face, this is how everyone saw 25-year-old Rudy Farias for the first time since he was reported missing 8 years ago. After being interviewed by Houston police detectives with his mother at a hotel near Bush Airport, he left with her as family members cast doubt on him ever being missing.
Everything's coming out to the light because I knew that she's been lying all this time.
Rudy's aunt, Pauline Sanchez Rodriguez, tonight is worried knowing he's still with his mother.
I fear for Rudy Farias' life.
This is video neighbors took Tuesday night as Rudy's mother loaded up their car less than 24 hours before police questioned her.
And now they want to arrest me because they said I was hiding him.
Rudy's mother then shared that. The neighbors also say she offered to pay them. Did it seem like she was offering money to get y'all to stay quiet?
Stay quiet. She wanted us to keep quiet. But I told her before I walked
Keisha.
off, I told her one thing I'm not going to do is lie about something.
Keisha Ross lives down the street. She knew Rudy as Dolph and saw him regularly.
He never came in my garage with a sober mind. Never. The only thing he said to me was he didn't want to be at home because his mom got on his nerves.
And we know that Rudy and his mother left that hotel after interviewing with detectives earlier today. We have been here in their neighborhood all evening. So far tonight, no sign of them. But we are expecting an update from Houston police on this case tomorrow, a full week after Rudy Farias was found. We're live in Northeast Houston. I'm Bryce Newberry, KPRC 2 News.
All right, Bryce, the latest on a disturbing story. Bryce, thank you.
All right, everybody.
We start tonight.
Click 2 is the source. Once again, that's Keisha speaking to the news again. Where many of you are going to have a problem with this story, and I too, is the fact that he's walking around and talking to different people. And that shows free will to go about, not held hostage, not held down. Still in the car, running around, going over here, going over there, going to people's houses, wouldn't answer his phone because he didn't want to be bothered with his mother. That shows the fortitude. He has some reasoning skills. But we've also learned in these type of situations, he would also be codependent because he doesn't have anybody else to lean on. Where is his father, biological father? I'm going to ask all those questions. Where's the biological father? How many people knew that he was living in that house? Why didn't investigators find out the truth that Rudy Farias has been alive this entire time? That's the problem. Because now we have too many people talking that he's coming and going and running around. But then the flip side of that can be he has the mind of a child. So does he have any mental disabilities? Is he autistic? Does he have something developmentally wrong with him to where, yes, he's roaming around because he was damn near grown when the first report went out. I don't even know what I'm saying, to tell you the truth, because I'm utterly confused. But if he doesn't have anybody, he's going to go back to the house, whether he likes what she's doing or not. If she's touched him inappropriately, he still doesn't have anywhere to go. And that's where people are going to judge him. Well, he's running around going these other places. Why don't he tell somebody what she's doing? Why don't he tell somebody she's touching him? Why does he go to a church or somebody and say? But then if he's under the influence of drugs, and you hear Keisha saying she never saw him with a sober mind, he ain't going to think like a rational person because he's under the influence of drugs. So he's not going to behave like a normal person if he's taking drugs. So that would be expected, that he's not going to reason like he should. He knows to go do this, to eat, talk to people, walk around the neighborhood, but he doesn't have the fortitude to get up, go get a job, go to school, tell his mother, hey, I'm done with you. I don't want to live like this anymore. Go get some help. Possibly when he was found, he was under the influence of drugs, and that's why law officials were called. And this ruse hoax has come to light. But too many people are talking now. The fact that the young lady says, Miss Keisha, that she thinks the mother was insinuating to pay them to be quiet. How is that going to work? You paying these people off. One aunt, you hear Ms. Rodriguez says she fears for his safety. So where is he now? Is he in the custody of his mother? Because what's going to be even more baffling is if we find out today, Rudy is still with this crazy ass mama. She could hurt him. She could harm him. She could fear for her own safety as far as being incarcerated. Kill herself, kill the boy. Kill the man, rather. He's a man now. This is bad. This is a bad story here. This is a real bad story. Fox 26 is the story. They also have a press conference. I want to see how long it is. And it's 22 minutes long. It's pretty long. You could go to Fox 26 if you want to do the press conference, if you want to hear it. I'm just trying to give you bits and pieces of different people that have given commentary. Let's hear what Mr. Quanell has to say. This was uploaded 6 hours ago. News Nation is the source. Activist says he's absolutely concerned about Rudy Farias' safety. Yeah, I think I am too, because I don't know what to say just yet. Who's telling the truth? What's the truth? If it's just a matter he's under the influence of drugs, he's codependent, so he's going to still be around his mother, go around her. He doesn't have anywhere to stay. He doesn't have the fortitude to go get a job. Then he's going to go back to her house, whether she's touching him, beating him, locking him up. I don't know. Oh, Lord have mercy. This is a hot butter mess. Once again, take my poll. Is Rudy Farias and mom both lying? 38% says both. 62% says mother. 0% says Rudy. 55 votes. Now live on the Vote XL. Let's hear from Mr. Quanell, everybody. Well, people are molested every day, love. That's nothing new.
As Natasha just said, let's bring him in. Activist Quanell X, who is planning on holding that press conference in just a few hours, demanding Rudy's mother be charged in the case. Quanell, thank you so much for giving us some of your time here. First, let's just start. You're very invested in this. Almost from when this first came out last week, we started to hear your name. What is your connection to this saga? Is there a personal connection?
The mother reached out to me and asked me for help and assistance to deal with the investigators because she was afraid that they were being intimidating and she didn't feel comfortable interacting and dealing with them. And so I said, okay, no problem. I will talk to you about the details of the case. And then we'll go ahead and set up a point to meet with investigators. We did that. When we talked, she said one thing to me. In particular, she said that the man at her home that neighbors had seen was her ex-boyfriend. But in the meeting with investigators, she said, oh, no, that was my nephew. Along with one other thing she said that was totally not true. At that point, I felt it was necessary to talk to Rudy without the mother being present, because when we went into the room,
let me go back on that, because that doesn't make any sense. This don't make no sense. Hold on. Let's go back to that, because I'm getting utterly confused now.
Ex-boyfriend.
Wait.
Talk to you about the details of the case, and then we'll go ahead and set up a point to meet with investigators. We did that. When we talked, she said one thing to me. In particular, she said that the man at her home that neighbors had seen was her ex-boyfriend. But in the meeting with investigators, she said, oh, no, that was my nephew. Along with one other thing she said that was totally not true. At that point, I felt it was necessary to talk to Rudy without the mother being present, because when we went into the room, she told all of us, investigators as well as myself, who she asked to come and help her, that he was nonverbal and could not talk. Once she was removed from the room, Rudy opened up and spoke in detail about his relationship with his mother, his interaction with his mother, and the things his mother did to him that no woman on earth should ever do to her child or any child.
All right, so Quanell, that was one of my questions for you. So, his mother said that he was nonverbal. We didn't know whether it was from the trauma of this alleged disappearance or whether he was just a nonverbal person. But you're saying that Rudy is, in fact, verbal. He can speak.
Absolutely verbal. And when he calms down, he's not emotional. He's articulate. He's clear. And he can clearly think about what he's talking about and what he's saying. There are moments that he has that are very traumatic for him when he starts going back through the memories that causes him to break down and cry. But yes, he's absolutely verbal, and he's very crystal clear when he speaks.
All right. So I want to talk about that interview. I want to talk about what you spoke with. But first, where is Rudy right now, and are you concerned for his safety?
Oh,
I'm absolutely concerned for his safety. In fact, I pleaded with investigators after he spoke to me and the investigators together for an hour and 15 minutes. That entire interview with Rudy, I sat there with the detective for an hour and 15 minutes. And based on what we heard, we stepped out of the meeting, and I said to the detective and all three of them together, there was three detectives. I said, you cannot let this young man leave with that woman. Please do not let him leave with his mother. After everything we just heard, after what he just told us, you cannot let him leave with his mother. And at that point, they began to start the process of trying to separate her from him at that point, but she was able to creep back to the room and begin to question him about what he told us. And she asked him, did you tell him about our relationship? And Rudy said, yes. And then she said to him, you got to take that back. You cannot tell them that. I will kill myself. That's exactly what she said to him after he had spoke to either detective for an hour and 15 minutes. That detective heard everything that Rudy said in crystal clear detail. He heard Rudy say that she made him sleep in the bed with her often, and he did not want to do it. He heard Rudy say that I hated doing that she was violating my boundaries. And we asked Rudy if anything else happened in the bedroom. He said she would kiss him on the lips, and she would get in the bed naked sometime with him. He went on to say to us that he would be in a restroom and he would be in the shower and she would get naked and come in the restroom and pull back the shower curtain. And I don't want to go any further because I don't think it would be fair to Rudy. But the things that she said were graphic in nature. This young man was a victim of incest and sexual abuse. She said to him, you gotta be my husband now, and you gotta play daddy now. That's exactly what he said to me, as well as the investigator.
All right, so Cornell, obviously very explosive allegations that you're making. And so we know what you're saying. You are very clear on what you say happened in that interview room. We just heard that snippet from investigators, from police in Natasha's reporting. They essentially say the polar opposite of what you are saying. How can you explain this?
It's not the polar opposite. The question was raised to them, was there any sexual abuse? And the man says, well, it was not reported to me. I'm trained to find these things and see these things. Then the next question was there a sexual relationship between a mother and a son? They refused to answer the question and said, we treat all victims the same and we give them their privacy. Why did not you answer? Was there a sexual relationship? You chose not to answer because you know what Rudy told us in that meeting. They heard it in detail, just like I did. And to be honest with you, I asked them on 3 separate occasions at the end of that meeting.
Let me pause right there because there's something on the screen I need to read to everybody. News Nation is the source. Conflicting case information. Rudy was 18 years old when he disappeared, not 17. Rudy was reported seen in the neighborhood. Mother said it was her nephew. Cops stopped Rudy and his mother, but accepted the fake names. When did they stop them? When was this? A backpack was found and said to be Rudy's. It wasn't his. A backpack was found and said to be Rudy's. Found where? At the church where he was on the ground? Found at the house? What do we say? This is getting worse by the minute.
Is there anything I should not say to the media that would jeopardize your investigation? On 3 separate occasions, they said no. I was attempting to be courteous and thoughtful to their investigation, but they said no. They heard Rudy talk about the abuse and the drugs his mother was giving him and got to him, the mushrooms, etc. They heard all of that.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find new.
This is not good, this information. I do not want to believe that Mr. Cornell X would lie for clout or attention. He spoke with the young man for an hour and 15 minutes. Let's chop up what Mr. Cornell has said in this commentary. News Nation is the source if you need verification. He spoke with the young man for an hour and 15 minutes without the mother being in the room. The mother stated that he was nonverbal, but yet he confesses these said allegations against the mother, improprieties, violating his personal space and body. Broke down crying. The fact that she reached out to Mr. Cornell, but yet has been found to be a liar. Why would you reach out to Mr. Cornell X, ma'am, knowing the truth would be revealed? We have neighbors speaking. We have family members speaking. And what they're saying contradicts a kidnapped person, held hostage person. The fact you use your son to work for you at your security job is baffling. So you just been using this big old kid, grown man rather, for your own deviant purposes. The fact that they let you go back in the room to talk to your son, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because if everybody's trying properly to read people lying and making up stuff, you knew that you weren't supposed to let her go back in the room with the son. Unless he said, yeah, I don't mind my mom coming in the room. So why would you, ma'am, go back in the room and say, did you tell them about our relationship? Mr. Cornell says, this is what was said by all of these people in the room, the son and the mother. Yes, the son admits, yes, I told them about our relationship. So she threatened to kill herself. What the hell are we talking about? The mentioning of an ex-boyfriend at the house, who then turned into the nephew, told to authorities, then turns into the son, Rudy, who's allegedly been missing since 18, who allegedly was 17, but now was 18 at the time. What the hell is going on here? I told you all something was off with this story. What is going on with this mother? Was she violating her child sexually, defrauding people, stealing people's identities, stealing from the government? I don't know what the hell she's been doing. But what doesn't add up are the aliases when you got all these people saying, hell no, he just used the word Dolph. Dolph is short for Rudolph. Rudy is short for Rudolph. No defrauding as far as his name. He's been walking around. But if he's under the influence of drugs, he's not in his right mind. And he's not in his right mind to leave his mother. For those who are wondering why he didn't run away, didn't call the police in the beginning, do not know his mental capabilities, do not know if he is of a sound mind at the time of 18. Did he behave like an 18-year-old? What's his grade level? So you have to ask all those questions. Because 18 doesn't mean he acted like an 18-year-old. Could have been acting like a 12-year-old, 6-year-old. I don't know. I have no earthly idea. His mental capabilities, if he's autistic, if he's mentally undeveloped, you have to ask all those questions. But what's interesting is when she's at the police station, she's starting the story off with, oh, the guy at my house is my ex-boyfriend. That's creepy right there. So she went from calling her own son an ex-boyfriend to Mr. Cornell. Then the authorities talked to her. He's her nephew, which was the lie she was spending in the neighborhood allegedly at some point. And then it went from nephew to her son. So 3 different people who are actually one person. Ex-boyfriend, nephew, son. This is bad. Now for my commentary. Why spin this web of a missing 18-year-old man? Did she report him missing because she wanted money from people, a GoFundMe? Did she molest her child? Where is his dad? Does she have other children? How long has she lived in that said house? How many people lived in the house? I do believe I heard a story that her mother or grandmother lived at the house. You heard in this commentary that someone spoke to the grandmother, another relative, and that person said the grandmother told her, yes, I've seen him. Well, she would see him if she's living in the house. So how long was the mother living in the house, the grandmother? So you have to ask all those questions. FBI police did not follow up on this story. Why not? Did they have information that perhaps this was a ruse years ago? That's why they didn't follow up, did not continue investigating this story, or just didn't care. How many knew that Rudy Farias was alive? Why did it take 3 years to get the information out to the police station? You hear Miss Jackie speaking to News Nation that she called, but never was called back. Why didn't officials call her back to tell her something? Will there be charges against the mother? Where is she? Is he with her now? Are they gathering information to bring forward charges against the bio mother? This is bad. And why was he outside that church? Had he just passed out, exhausted, hot? under the influence. I don't know. If he doesn't live with his mother, stay with his mother in a hotel, where will he go? What type of services will be provided for Mr. Rudy? Does he have the capability to live on his own? Keep money in his pocket? Operate a bank card? Checkbook? So you have to ask all those questions because he is now an adult. He is not a child. This is currently an ongoing investigation. Will we find out the truth to what the hell happened with this child? Scars on his body. You also hear a young lady in here saying the same thing. He had Band-Aids on him, like he'd been to the hospital. What happened? Band-Aids on your arm is one thing if you've given plasma, but not on other parts of your body. Was he beat up, hurt, assaulted? And why was the mother using aliases? That's something I don't understand. This is a very baffling story coming out of Houston, Texas. Once again, another jacked up story. A jacked up story pertaining to allegedly was supposed to be a child, but now we now know it was an adult. Law officials. What else are we going to hear about this woman? Does she have other children? Any improprieties with DHS? Any calls of DHS when she had Rudy as a boy, a smaller boy? Does she date? Did she have a boyfriend? Was there ever another man living there, a boyfriend? Was she having sex with her own son? That is the main question. And why the lie and the ruse pertaining to Rudy? Is he mentally stable to take care of himself? Is he telling the truth about what his mother allegedly has done to him? Because like I said, if he's under the influence of drugs and he's roaming around the neighborhood, basically telling his name, he's just giving, a nickname of his government name. The mother has to have known that by now. He's going by Dolph, Rudy. The lie was already out. So what is the correlation between him telling people his damn name and the police? The police's involvement. I'm confused. Let me read you the set information, the latest update pertaining to this young man. Thank you for joining me. News Nation was that last source if you are curious to the information. Oh, Lordy. WBAL-TV 11 News is the source. This is uploaded July 6th. The case of a Texas man who was reported missing as a teenager in 2015 and found alive last week at a church took an unexpected turn Thursday when police, revealed it all was a hoax. The man was only gone for a day, but he and his mother maintained the ruse for 8 years by using false names. Prosecutors did not file any charges against Janie Santana and her son, Rudolph Rudy Farias. I believe this is the sixth. He's a sixth generation. But the investigation is continuing, Houston police detectives said. They gave a few other details about where they believe the case could lead. Santana's family said they suspected Farias was not missing and blamed Santana for keeping him away from them all these years. We're upset that authorities are not going to do anything, Pauline Sanchez Rodriguez, Farias' aunt said as she and other family members stood outside the Houston police headquarters. And you did hear her speaking in one of my last commentaries, audios in this live stream. Santana did not return a phone call seeking comment Thursday. And this is the mother of Rudy. The announcement came a week after police said they found Farias after receiving a call about a person lying on the ground in front of a Southeast Houston church. Authorities had not previously said where Farias spent the past 8 years since he was reported missing as a 17-year-old who took his 2 dogs for a walk near his family's home in Northeast Houston and never came back. Now 25, he was hospitalized after police found him last week, and detectives interviewed him and his mother on Wednesday. Investigators concluded Farias returned home the day after he was reported missing, but the mother, Janie, continued to deceive police by remaining adamant that Rudy was still missing, Lieutenant Christopher Zamora said during a news conference. So that's very pertinent right there, that she was just talked to a few days ago, and she still was saying the boy was missing. Make sure I'm reading that correctly. That's exactly what it says. Investigators concluded Farias returned home the day after he was reported missing, but the mother, Janie, continued to deceive police by remaining adamant that Rudy was still missing. This was repeated by Lieutenant Christopher Zamora during a news conference. During the past 8 years, Farias and his mother had various interactions with officers, police said. During these contacts, fictitious names and date of births were given, misleading the officers, and Rudy would remain missing, Zamora said. After Farias was reported missing, Houston police and Texas EquiSearch, a civilian search and recovery team, looked for him without success, although his dogs were later found. Where were the dogs found? In Houston? Same side of town? A block around the corner? What shape were the dogs in? See, a lot of questions. In the years following, there were several possible sightings of Farias, according to a private investigator hired by Santana a few months after he went missing. They included one sighting in 2018 that police responded to, but the investigation remained open as a missing person case. That's even more troubling. The stupid mother who reports her son missing, who's not really missing, hired a private investigator who got nothing. Are y'all listening to this? So he's not watching the house. He's not seeing who's coming and going in the house. So you mean from 2018 up until now, nobody saw the boy walking out the house? This private investigator never once saw him coming out. When we learned she took him to work. So see, you got to ask yourself, how long has she had the security job? And when she was walking out, when was the last time he went to the security job with the mother? How long has she had the job? Because if the private investigator hasn't been working for her recently, and she was taking the boy to work, see, we don't even know how long it was when he last went to the job, he wouldn't have seen him coming out. This is baffling to me. Yet all the neighbors have seen him, and Cornell says she's never moved from that house. See, there's something wrong here. Once again, in the years following, there were several possible sightings of Farias, according to a private investigator hired by Santana a few months after he went missing. They included one sighting in 2018 that the police responded to, but the investigation remained open as a missing person case. Rodriguez said her late mother, Rosa Sosa Rodriguez, had been living with Santana and kept telling relatives that Farias was living in the house with them. Evidence number one. The grandmother told relatives, he's right here. So why was this case not solved and prosecution brought for false report of a missing person? My mom would always tell me, Rudy is here. He's there. He's in that room, Rodriguez said. And Janie said, no, she's lying. She's losing it. Zamora said Santana claimed the person friends and family were seeing was not Farias, but her nephew, but we disputed that. Rodriguez and other family members also accused Santana of not representing an accurate picture of herself to people and of not caring about family members. Court records show Santana has used at least 3 different names and was accused of mistreating her mother while they lived together. During a 2020 dispute over her mother's guardianship, Santana's sisters accused her of forcing their mother to live in a home that had animal urine feces throughout and causing her to have significant bed sores because she did not have a bed and slept on the couch. In a 2011 affidavit filed in a court case in which Santana's marriage was declared null and void because a judge concluded she was married to another man at the time, Rodriguez said her sister had always been a pathological liar. She lies about everything. So obviously somebody's taking her to court in 2011. Whoever this guy was, who is he? How long was he married to her? Who was the other guy that she was allegedly married to while married to this guy? This is a bunch of bullshit. So did this guy take her to court in 2011 or she was filing for a divorce? I don't understand what's going on. Rodriguez said she and the other family members have yet to speak with Farias and they remain worried about him. I just want him safe, said Sylvia Sanchez Lopez, another aunt of Farias. But Zamora with the police department's missing persons unit said Farias was safe and he had decided to stay with his mother by choice. Bingo card. This is where the judgment is going to come in by many. He has decided to stay with his mother. So when they found him, whomever, the other day, wasn't just he was under the influence, went somewhere, walked, passed out from taking mushrooms, some type of drug, never missing, been living with his mother, this pathological liar, crybaby, crazy person. This is bad. Police Chief Troy Fenner said when Farias was reported missing, he was 17 years old, which is considered an adult in Texas. Now in his 20s, Farias is a grown man, he said. After police announced that Farias has been found, Santana released a statement saying he's receiving the care he needs to overcome his trauma, but at this time, he is nonverbal and not able to communicate with us. She also asks for privacy. See, this makes no sense. How is he nonverbal when Cornell told you he's already talked to him and told him what allegedly his mother did to him? So is it that he doesn't want to tell the police what his mother did to him for the fear of her getting arrested, but he ended up telling Cornell the truth of the allegations of his mother touching him inappropriately? Because now this makes no sense. Okay. This is Santana saying, excuse me, not the police. So she's a liar. She's the one that released the statement. He's receiving care to overcome his trauma, but he's nonverbal and not able to communicate with us. She also asks for privacy. So these are the words coming from the mother, excuse me, not the police. Well, she's going to say that because she knows he's already told the truth of their relationship and what's been going on in the house. But this is still weird. That Mr. Zamora, the police department, says that he is staying with the mother by choice, quote unquote. Fenner declined Thursday to answer questions about the mental health of Farias or his mother and would not say what might have motivated their actions. As you hear there, not she, but they. He said police are right at the beginning of their investigation into what happened. Police also said patrol officers responded to a burglary call Wednesday night at the family's home, and that is now part of their investigation. WBALTV.com is the source. What in God's name is going on in Houston, Texas? Oh, Lord have mercy. I don't even know where to go with this. You've heard from Cornell X. You've heard from a Miss Rodriguez. You heard from an African-American woman by the name of Keisha, that's a neighbor. You also heard from another African-American female that's a neighbor in this audio. I told you when I first started talking about the story this evening that something is off. Because the one thing I do in a story is I listen. I don't listen to what other people have to say. I don't listen to what Pookie, Ray, Bubba has to say. I listen to what the officials say. I listen to what a neighbor has to say, a family member, and that's how I deduct what is the truth and what is not the truth. I'm still on the fence, but there's still something off with the story. Am I to believe this boy is mentally ill, under the influence of drugs, and he's just been riding the ride with a crazy mother for fear of not having somewhere to stay and going to jail? Let's go back in time to how this story began, 2015. Is it a possibility that she had been touching her son inappropriately, probably still was up until him being at the church days ago? He was tired of his mother, and he just walked out the house. She didn't know where he was. She waited. She looked around the neighborhood. She put in a report that he was missing the next day. But all along, Rudy came back to the house on his own. Please listen to what I'm saying to you now. In the state of Texas, he's considered an adult. I just brought you information that he wasn't 17, that he was 18. So there's going to be some conflict with that in the news reports. You're entitled to your opinion. I've got a feeling that Rudy walked away from the house frustrated or just went out to hang one day, didn't come back. She waited a day, reported him missing, and here comes this story of a missing 17-year-old. There were posters, boards put up with his picture and information. So it's not just somebody went to the news and made up a little story and they talked about it all of a day, 2 a week. There were actual poster boards posted up, bulletin boards of this man. Where there's a problem is, number one, the allegations. Number two, he's been in the house all this time. Number three, the mother, after the fact, calling him an ex-boyfriend to a nephew to her son because she was running out of excuses. She was just trying to, what they call grasping at straws, because she knew her foot was in the trap. The fact that other people have seen him walking around the neighborhood in the past 8 years. The fact that he had a phone. Could have called in the 8 years anybody. Hey, come get me. Hey, this woman's messing with me. Hey, I'm not happy here. But if he's not mentally developed, if he's been under the influence of drugs, he can't go out here and get a job. He can't go out here and rent an apartment. He can't enroll in school, the military, and do what a normal person can do because he's not in the right frame of mind. So that would be one reason why he didn't just fully leave his house with his mother. So what you have to ask yourself is how undeveloped he may be mentally, as far as, his mental capabilities. Can he write? Can he read? Does he, we know he speaks English because he spoke to Mr. Cornell. But how underdeveloped is he? That's number one. The reason for the ruse, was it for her to get money, or she knew that it would come out that there were improprieties with her son, so she went on and reported him missing? So see, that's why you don't really know what's the truth, because who's to say he just didn't walk out the house that day, evening, whatever, chill somewhere at somebody's house, came on back, and she just let the lie linger on. So you don't know, because her family says she's a pathological liar. A member of the family says she's a pathological liar. So you're not going to even know the truth of he walked out the door. He never came home. State considers him legal at 17, 18. She reports him missing. He returns home. And as I said, she continued this lie for years. And then when people probably was noticing that he was there, got rumored that he was there, she just started making up stuff. Oh, that's my nephew. That's my this. That's my that. But what's sick is when you call him your ex-boyfriend. That's going too damn far. Did she sexually molest her child? Had sexual relations with her child? And if those allegations are true that he told Mr. Cornell, why in God's name would he go back to her house, her peripheral? If she is not staying in her home, where is she staying? And is Rudy staying with her? This is what is disgusting. If indeed she has been sleeping with her son, then you have to ask how long she's been touching him inappropriately, having sex with him, so on and so forth. The fact that all this has come to light, that he was never missing. Why in the world would he go back to her after telling Mr. Cornell all these nasty things about her? Why not ask for help and staying in a hotel by himself or some type of treatment facility until the state and law officials can decide what to do with the case. This is currently an ongoing investigation. This is a very baffling story. I'm not here to say that Rudy is a liar. I do believe the mother is a liar, yes, because she reached out to Quanell, and he has no reason to make up anything about her because he didn't know her or her son from a can of paint. But I have to ask the developmental level of Rudy. Is he high functioning or not? Is he high functioning? He doesn't have any mental disabilities. He isn't autistic, but he's riding the ride with his mother with this BS to get back at her, revenge. I don't know. But you have relatives saying she's been known to lie. And I can't understand. The part that this is the baffling part, like I said, is to be found at a church, talk to Mr. Quanell alone, tell him what the mother allegedly did to him, but then still stay in her custody. That's where people are going to be confused. But like I said, the flip side of that is if he is underdeveloped mentally, if he's been using drugs for a long time, that would explain him never running away, never leaving, never going out on his own. And even after this story breaking days ago, the reason why he would stay in the custody of his mother. That's my commentary. I know something's not right here. That's a given. Anytime my mother would identify her own child as an ex-boyfriend and a nephew, when people have disputed that he's been in that house the whole time, that lets me know that 9 times out of 10, she has been doing inappropriate deeds with her son. And that's the sick part of the story, because there's no reason for a woman to ever pretend that her child was her ex-boyfriend. You would never even say that because you're worried about somebody going back saying, oh, yeah, there's been a male stain there. You still would never say, oh, yeah, that was my ex-boyfriend. You just tell the truth. You would say, nephew, another kid, or my other kid. You're not going to clarify your own child as your ex-boyfriend. That's sick. So I won't doubt she's touched her kid. So now you have to go back in time from the time she gave birth to Rudy. Where was he born? Where is the father? Does he have a relationship with his father? How is it that she's kept this boy child from the other relatives? You hear in this commentary that they want to see him. They want to talk to him. So how is it that you all are hearing the story that he's been with her the whole time, but you never could get to him? Officials never came to finish an investigation. Or where did the investigation stand? I'd like to know that. When was the last time somebody went out to that house asking about Rudy? How is it that this man's been in his house for damn 8 years and nobody has seen him come out that's of a law official capacity? She hires a private investigator. That's even more wicked. When was the last time a private investigator worked on the case? He went on the case a couple months after the boy went missing. When did he stop working? What were his findings? Maybe because he realized there's some bullshit with Miss Santana. Did she pay him? Did she feed her kid? He was kind of chubby, so one would say he hasn't missed any meals. But he also had scars on him. What did they come from? But he's hallucinating. He could be scratching his own skin, Mr. Quanell X. Stay woke, everybody. When you are hallucinating, you think you have bugs on you. So you would be scratching yourself, gnawing at yourself, picking at your skin. Is it perhaps the wounds on Mr. Rudy Farias? They are self-inflicted because of the hallucinating drugs, the mushrooms. Maybe she did not hurt her child as far as physically, like hitting him, scratching him, beating with him with something. He's been inflicting his own wounds to himself because of the drugs. I ask all the questions because I pay attention to the details. I don't want to make any rash judgments pertaining to this case because it's wicked. And if he's, like I said, if he's under the influence of drugs, then I can't judge him to say why he never walked away, ran away. He would be codependent and he would not be lucid to make sound decisions for himself. That I think that would be obvious. But what's more disturbing is that he's been on drugs for God knows how long. He's not in a clear thinking state of mind. So basically, he would need to be the ward of the state, and they put him in a treatment facility and get him some help and try to assess his capabilities thereafter once he's come down from the drugs. And see if he could perhaps become a functioning adult to live on his own. But the flip side of that is he still might want to deal with his mother. She could find out where he is and still be bothering him, trying to, do whatever. Touch him, get him back under her fold. This is bad. Because he's used to her. This is Stockholm Syndrome all day, perhaps. So even if he got himself clean, was able to get a job, go to school, get a trade, he probably would still feel obligated to his mother. And that's where this story would become dicey or dicier. He still wants to be under his mother. Because you have to ask yourself, when was the last time he actually stayed away from the house? Because you heard the one black lady say, Keisha, she would call his phone and he would answer. So that means he has some reasoning skills to not want to be bothered with his mother, but not enough to walk away completely. Go out on his own. I want to thank you for joining me. I want to get more information pertaining to this story of Mr. Rudy, Miss Santana. I will bring you that information. I will also do another live Saturday pertaining to breaking news of Madonna, Mr. Trump, different things going on. I would do a SmackDown Saturday because I wanted to just focus completely on Mr. Farias in this commentary. Do you believe the allegations of this man against his mother? Do you believe what family members and neighbors have said about seeing him walking and roaming around the neighborhood? Why is it that these neighbors never realized that he was never a boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, nephew? He was Rudy all along. Because now that we know that he was an adult, damn near adult, when the report went in, what did I just tell you? He couldn't look that different from 18 to 25, 17 to 25. Whether he was smaller or heavier. So even if the neighbor was told, that's not my son, that's my nephew, my son is still missing, anybody with sense would have said, lady, that's your son, why are you lying? And maybe she would lock a door to keep him from coming out, to tell on himself. But then we have allegations from neighbors saying, he was roaming. So now you got to ask, how long was he roaming in the neighborhood? They've had run-ins with the police. They have used alias. So now she's taught her son to be a liar. He's good at lying. And that's a habit that is hard to break. Lying. Because lying starts usually at a young age. And it's hard for most people as adults to stop lying. And that's the worst you can have besides a thief in most people's eye. At least with a thief, they steal. But with a liar, you don't know that they're a liar. You got to wait till they're caught in a lie. And that's a very dangerous game. And he possibly will have traits that are from his mother because she's been grooming him, if we're to believe the allegations of sexual deviances. She's nasty. So now you have to ask, has she ever dated anybody in that house, brought men to that house? Have they slept there? Have any of them ever touched him inappropriately? Who all has lived in the house while he allegedly was missing? Where is the grandmother now? Is she still alive or deceased? Nursing home, what? Maybe I've already answered that question. I got so much in my mind I can't keep up because the story is just very, very wicked to me. I'll bring you more information pertaining to the story because I'm sure there'll be something each day. Feel free to go into the YouTube queue to watch the press conference because I didn't want this live to go too long. So I'm already at 2 hours. I may do an update tomorrow of the press conference, and then we'll chop up the press conference versus Quanell's version from Rudy, because that's also a problem. That Quanell feels like they've dropped the ball in this case, and why are they not trying to own that the boy's been molested by the mother, allegedly? And he says, I know what the boy said to me. Why are you all acting like he hasn't been, and you're supposed to be professionals, forensic interviewers? So we have the police saying, I didn't pick that up in the conversation with the young man that he's been touched. But the Quanell says you had to have known because he said it with you being in the same room with me. God, this is bad. So now we have an activist version versus police's version. Who's telling the damn truth? Oh, David said she passed. Okay, I thought I said that. I've been reading so much, I started getting confused. So you have to ask all these questions. Who all lived in the house? How long these people lived in the house? And I just don't understand why nobody followed through with the grandmother's assertions that the boy had been there the whole time. But she's telling them, oh, she's dementia. She don't know what she's saying. But the family members say they felt like, some of them, that they knew she was lying. So then you have to ask, was he staying in the house at that time when the grandmother said he was staying there? Was she allowing him out? Was he just only coming out at night to go to the security job with the mother? Man, this is wicked. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. Thank you for your time. Saturday, I will bring you a live stream pertaining to breaking news, various stories, and also will try to bring you an update pertaining to Rudy's case and the press conference. And we decide on who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth. Is this child, this grown man, undeveloped? He doesn't know how to navigate for himself, and that's why he's still under his mother's fold, never left. And as I said, what will be really disturbing is that he's with her as we speak. I pray that she does not harm him. If she decides to kill herself, I could care less. But I don't want her harming the young man because he hasn't been afforded the opportunity to navigate in the world and live like most young people and go out and have fun and travel and go to school, get an education. He's been denied that due to possibly being under the influence of drugs. Maybe he has some developmental issues, and also a sick mother, a sick, wacko, witch, biodonor, demon seed. Where is his father? Will somebody come forward to say they are the biological father of this man and tell us when the last time they saw him, dealt with him, paid child support, whatever? Will we find out she's been arrested for other crimes, fraud? Who is Miss Santana? And why does she carry this lie of an alleged missing son? And will the Houston Police Department bring forward charges of her filing a false report of a missing son? Thank you for your time. You have been listening to The Vault XL. Have a wonderful weekend. Please check out my community board for said polls. Please check out Deep Water, starring Ben Affleck. It is a very riveting story, and it will teach you about what you will tolerate in a relationship. It is the most interesting movie I've watched in a very long time, Adrian Lynn is the director. He has directed many movies. Fatal Attraction, Unfaithful with Richard Gere. And I also believe he did Jagged Edge with Glenn Close. And I can't think of the other guy's name. That was the leading actor. He was the suspect in killing his wife. But please, please check out Deep Water. It's a year old, now playing on Hulu. That's my weekend suggestion. Thank you. Oh, Hippie says, I believe his father unalived himself. Not positive. Okay. What? Debbie says, did the bio father pass? I haven't heard anything about him, but when I get an update pertaining to the father, I will bring it because I've already brought you about 6-7 different sources in this live streams. So, you know, you're gonna get a different version from different people. Every network is not gonna have the same information as another network. So that's why I'm saying one network is saying he's 17. The other information I brought you said he's 18, that he was 18 when he went missing. So see, you don't know what's the truth because all this SHIT is coming from the mother, her version. So you don't know what to believe. But what's going to be more disturbing, if there's proof he's been molested, the fact that she possibly was molesting him at a younger age. I hope they bring forward a charge of rape because there should not be any stipulations on rape, statute of limitations. If it's not for murder, then it shouldn't be for rape either. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful weekend.